So I am going to demonstrate filling out a labor log for keeping track of the writing work you do for your assignments this semester. While you are not required to keep a labor log for every writing task that we do, I highly recommend trying it to help you track your writing work for the final project of the course, Project 3. Those of you who have decided to contract for an A in the course will submit 6 to 8 labor logs with reflections in Project 3 for your final portfolio. Like I mentioned in the syllabus, you're invited to use these labor logs for two purposes in our class. The first reason we're using these is to emphasize the variety of writing work we do in a writing course, and while doing so, to de-center the privileged or hegemonic language systems that are pervasive in the university. Put more simply, to counter white supremacy as it is evident in privileged language, and to better acknowledge all languaging as having power and importance. In my role as a teacher in grading for this course, a role that I fulfill for you and for the university, I emphasize the labor of each reading and writing task over and above any kind of limited perspective of quality of the writing. Through peer and teacher feedback, you will have a sense of what is and isn't working well in your writing to accomplish the tasks and to communicate ideas to your readers. And of course, your readers in this class are primarily your peers and me, but we'll be working on writing that you will be encouraged to use in other academic and professional contexts. You will have the chance to revise or develop your ideas as needed. The second reason that we use labor logs is to help us better learn together about your writing practices and possibly to work together to fine-tune those practices. Let me use a simple example, and it might feel familiar. Let's imagine that you note regularly in your labor logs that you're writing your assignments only during the 30 minutes before they're due. Maybe after a few logs, you will notice that you've developed a pattern that is or is not working for you. In this case, I would probably recommend, if I got a chance to review your logs, that you spend at least some time earlier in the week reading or planning for an assignment rather than cramming in your work, to give you more time to think about your ideas and to make your evenings less stressful. These logs will also help you and I develop an assessment of your work across the semester as we review your portfolio in December. In short, these logs give us a starting point for a conversation about your writing strategies and labor by serving as a record of that work. So let's look at the labor log itself, which you can find in the syllabus as well as in the Week 1 module of our Canvas site. I'll show you how to find it in the Canvas site. Use the menu on the left-hand side of the screen to click on Modules. That takes you to your weekly tasks for every week of the course. Now, find the file called Labor Log for English 5790 in the Week 1 module. You may download this file to your computer or just look at it in Canvas for now. In the file, you'll see the basic template for the labor log that you can use for any writing task this semester. Please note that you can modify the labor log as needed if you'd like to add categories or track a longer assignment across a number of sittings of work. I am totally open to seeing how else you might track these same categories that I have in here and others that you choose to track in your own formats. I've selected the most low-tech option as a baseline, so I just created this in a Google Doc, but it's copied and pasted into a Microsoft Word document for you to then copy and paste and upload into your own documents as needed. You could also choose to keep all of your logs for the semester in one big Word document or Google Doc, and then look at the whole thing at once, or you could save them in individual files. The most important thing is that they're easy for you to go back to and that you can access them and update your reflections in them. So I'm going to walk you through just an example of filling one out This week, I'm working on reading some chapters that I think will be influential for a book project that I'm doing, so I'm going to use that work as an example. Remember that I noted in the syllabus video that you're going to keep track of your own files in a portfolio system that you choose. So you might use OneDrive or a Google Drive, or add your writing and work onto a personal WordPress site. That's really up to you. For the purposes of this demonstration, I am using a OneDrive folder. I'll upload the completed version of this example to Canvas so that you have another example than the one in the syllabus. But I'm going to fill this out for that book project reading that I'm doing. Okay, so the first thing I want to recall is just where I worked on the task. I did this writing at my dining room table and at my desk in my bedroom office, my quarantine office. And you might be wondering, why does it matter that I'm recording where I work on a task? Well, we want to think about which spaces are productive for you, or just see if there's a connection between even physically where you're able to work and how you're working. For example, I know for myself that I do much better sitting up at a table working, because when I'm sitting back, I just don't pay as good of attention. And that's been true for like 20 years. Okay, times I worked on this task. So I actually worked on this assignment in a few different sittings, reading 2 chapters from a book and writing my notes and analyses from them. And that's going to matter a little bit later down here when I think about how I felt working on the task. So I also want to think about the kinds of work I did on the task. I was certainly reading. I was annotating in the book, underlining, writing notes and questions in the margins. In my writing, I was summarizing, paraphrasing in a Word doc, writing analysis passages, thinking about how the chapters fit with my project. Some resources I used. So resources can mean a lot of different things when we're working on these labor logs. In this particular task for me, I was working totally alone, in the sense that I didn't have any writing partners that I was having meetings with. I wasn't checking in with my mentor on my project. But I'm going to count using the references in the works cited list and the notes from the program meeting that I was thinking about while I was reading and writing my notes as resources. And I'm keeping track of those because it might help me later on think back to where I got ideas from and what other sources or resources I need to further develop as I work on my project. When we explore how we feel working on a task, that can mean so many different things. I might sometimes think that I feel excited or happy to work on something. Sometimes I might be feeling a ton of resistance. I'm going to just pay attention to what seem to be the most forceful feelings or emotions during that task. So for this particular task, I'm noting that especially when I did writing in the morning, I felt focused and engaged in the reading and writing, which was good because I really haven't been in a reading zone in a while. For me, I kind of go in waves, or really get tuned into reading or really get tuned into writing. And ideally, I'd have more of a balance of each. I feel like after a few days of reading, I finally got that balance. I could also think of some other things that I'm tracking. Maybe I want to track resistance and what's keeping me from wanting to work. If I'm having that, you might want to track the kinds of breaks that you're taking. I remember one time last spring when I was kind of working on tracking my writing, I noticed that a lot of times in the middle of writing, I would pick up my phone and look at my Instagram and not even realize I was doing it. And so starting to pay attention to that kind of stuff was really useful for me. That space is totally open. You can decide what you want to track and how you want to track it. You might even I've seen people do some quantitative tracking. They're like, how many pages, how many words did I actually get done on that project? It might be interesting to you. This other column over here is to do some follow-up reflections. These are things that you might come back to several days or a week later. Now, for the purposes of this exercise and demonstrating this to you, I'm just filling it out right now. These don't all have to be filled out in this column, but I might write notes right away or I might write notes a little bit later. So let's say maybe across the whole semester, I want to notice, am I doing my writing in the morning? That's one of my personal hopes, is that I amp up my morning writing time, which really haven't gotten to do since the kids were home from school in the spring and in the summer. So I might, just say like, I wrote twice in the morning this week. Go me, because it feels good to do it. I might want to get permission to use the meeting notes in my project because that meeting was so influential. That's something to follow up on. So what these notes are on the side can really be anything, and you and I can certainly talk about that too. Now, when I am finished with a labor log, I want to again make sure I upload it in my portfolio. I'm writing in OneDrive, so it's saving for me automatically, just so I can keep track of those things. So I hope this example is helpful. I look forward to working with you on seeing how your writing work is going this semester and on learning more with you from your reflections on this writing labor.